and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for Fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan and I've come a lot closer to finalising my Gameweek 17 team. I've made a few changes, there's been a few updates around the world of football and Premier League. So I'm going to show you my updated team. I really like it. If you like it too, please do leave a like and please do subscribe if you want more fantasy content and you want to see my final team, which we'll reveal in just a few days. If you're looking for a recommendation in web safety and anonymity this game week, then how about today's video sponsor, Surfshark, a VPN service that keeps your identity safe online. It's basically like installing a Kieran Trippier to your PC or mobile phone. But not only this, Surfshark allows you to browse the internet as if you are in a different country. If you don't have access to certain football channels and networks in your country, no problem, set your location to somewhere else using Surfshark and you can now access it. Maybe you want to watch Match of the Day or Sky Go from on vacation and it's not working, or you're getting that annoying "this content is unavailable in your country" message. Just because you're away from home this Christmas, it doesn't mean that your internet needs to be. But here is my favourite part. If you've watched all of the Christmas movies on Netflix and want to unlock all the content on USA Netflix, for example, you can easily do so. You can switch countries faster than you can switch Gabriel Jesus out of your FPL team. Protect your identity, be safe online and access web content from around the world wherever you are. And you can now get 85% off and 3 months extra for free. Just use promo code FPL Mate, all one word, to get this offer, or you can simply click the link in my description. It really helps support the channel and you get a great service for a heavily discounted price as well. And if you somehow don't like it, you also get a 30-day money back guarantee, so everybody wins. Alright guys, so unlimited transfers, 101.2 is the value of this particular team that I've made. I think you're going to like this one a little bit more than the last one. I certainly do myself, but maybe there'll be a few more tweaks before the final deadline. But let's start off in goal with Kepa. Kepa stays in goal, and if you've been watching my content recently, you probably know that I've been hyping up Kepa quite a lot as the goalkeeper to go for. Just his price at 4.5 million, it's so rare to get a top goalkeeper from a top team for this cheap price. And a lot of people will say, you know, Kepa and Chelsea, you know, Chelsea are not that good of a defence, really. Are they really one of the top defences? Well, look, if you compare Kepa to the other 4.5 million goalkeepers, you can say, oh, Chelsea aren't great in defence, but they're better than the, you know, the bottom half table teams typically, aren't they? So he's still going to get very good value for money at 4.5 million for a starting goalkeeper for Chelsea. It's kind of unseen before, you know, we don't get this very often. It's a rare opportunity. We've got these two really nice fixtures in Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest, who have some of the worst attacking numbers in the Premier League, and then a double game week right after that, and then Crystal Palace. It's a good run of fixtures. Crystal Palace don't score very many goals either, by the way. They're kind of averaging less than a goal per game at the moment, which is quite mad. So yeah, Kepa, very, very nice goalkeeper. He's been in really good form this season whenever he's been fit. He's nailed on whenever he is fit. He's got amazing fixtures and the double game week. It's a no-brainer for me. Let's move on into defense, guys, and Trippier is going to be our first defender. I feel like he is the kind of defender you just kind of have to pick by default. He just finds himself into your team. Obviously been in some phenomenal scintillating form this season, and the fixtures are mixed, but we have got some nice fixtures in there. Leicester, for example, although I think they're kind of a little bit of a tough game for an attack, Leicester don't actually score and create that much. They're not like one of the top scoring teams in the league, so I think the chances of a clean sheet for Newcastle, who have been in great defensive form all season, been one of the best, if not the best defence in the whole league, can keep clean sheets there. Then we've got the likes of Leeds and Fulham, where you do fancy Trippier to get an attacking return in those games. And we've got that Arsenal game there, obviously, which is not ideal, and maybe that's a game you could potentially think about benching Trippier for. But if you've got a nice defender on your bench that you can maybe rotate with Trippier for that fixture, I think you're going to do absolutely fine there. Next up, we've got Reece James, who is fit. We know he's fit. He has played, you know, he started a friendly game behind closed doors for Chelsea a couple of days ago, so he's ready to go. This is great news. It's really just all we wanted to hear was that Reece James was fit and available. It's great. So again, really, really nice fixtures, double game week. And the great thing about Reece James is that he does have that attacking potential. And I know people are kind of saying, you know, James, he's a risky one. Of course, he's a risky one. But when he goes off, when he's, you know, scoring goals or getting assists, which he has already done this season, he's done loads of it last season, he gets those mega scores. And if Reece James is going to get mega scores in any of these game weeks, it's going to be the likes of, game weeks against Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest. It's going to be double game weeks. It's going to be these kind of opportunities that's going to really send Reece James to the moon in terms of points. So he's got that mega haul potential. If you want to, just throw your hat in the ring, you don't get lucky without trying to create your own luck. And if Reece James goes crazy, a lot of people will say, Reece James owners are just lucky. But if you put yourself in the position to be lucky, then hey, maybe we get a big score. Maybe we don't. Who knows? I guess that's the fun of FPL, right? And finally, in defence, I've gone for Kyle Walker. So Kyle Walker is coming in to replace Cancelo for me. The main reason is just because I was just looking at the two players of stats, and mostly the two prices, and it just seems impossible to justify spending, 2.6 million more on Cancelo. 2.6 million more. That's a lot more money to be spending on Cancelo versus Walker. They both got the same clean sheet potential. Walker is pretty much almost as nailed on as Cancelo at right back. Obviously, he's been injured this season, but now he's returned to fitness. He's very well recognised as the the best right back at the club, and I don't see why he would get rotated too often. He should start 90% of games now that he's available, if not more than that. He could start all of them, to be honest. And he's only 4.8 million. His attacking stats are pretty weak, but then so are Cancelo's attacking stats as well. So it kind of makes me think, is Cancelo going to outscore Walker over the rest of the season? Yes, Cancelo is going to score more points. That is a fact. Is Cancelo going to score enough more points that it is worth going for him, or for 2.6 million more? Then to me the answer is no. I just can't see the value for money in Cancelo compared to Walker. This is a rare opportunity. We get a nailed on Man City defender, or a reasonably nailed on Man City defender, for 4.8 million. That's a really good price. It's a really good bargain. We've got a double game week coming up, potential for a second double game week coming up soon as well. It's all good. I'm happy with this pick, and we're going to use that money that we've saved to spend elsewhere in our team, because I really feel like, we probably don't need to be spending too much money in defence. Like we've learned by now, the clean sheets have not been going too well this season. We've had a lot of goals this season. Just investing too much in the defence seems a little bit, I don't know. It doesn't seem so good right now, right? Anyway, let's move on into midfield. We've got De Bruyne. So I do want to make sure I am picking some nailed on Man City players, just for that double game week in particular, and for any potential future double game weeks. I just want to get those nailed on players. This is a kind of a fixture period where we do see a little bit of rotation as well. So let's try and, at least try and find some nailed players here. Even if Walker is rotated, we have got bench players to cover it. But look, De Bruyne is going to be pretty nailed on. Leeds and Everton, two nice fixtures. Double game week in a couple of game weeks' time against Manchester United and Spurs, which is, I think it's an okay double game week, to be fair. I know it's not the perfect fixtures, but Man United have done okay defensively this season. Tottenham, Spurs have been pretty weak defensively all season so far. So unless they're going to suddenly change that, I think that Manchester City are going to have some opportunities to get some goals against Spurs. I don't think it's going to be an easy game for anyone there. So yeah, De Bruyne, hopefully he can pull some strings, start being his usual creative self on set pieces, taking those long shots, linking up with Erling Haaland, getting us lots of points. I do prefer De Bruyne to Salah right now. He seems like the player I'd rather go for, particularly with that double game week. And, De Bruyne is just, he's been doing better than Salah this season anyway, to be fair. But who knows? Salah could be a decent alternative, a decent shout. But we're going to go for De Bruyne in this team. Next up, Bruno Fernandes. So, yeah, it was very difficult for me to try and keep Bruno Fernandes in this team, but I've managed it. I've managed it, and I'm actually pretty happy with this team now that I've got Fernandes in it. So yeah, good fixtures as we've spoken about. He's on penalties. He's obviously the creative force in this team. He's on all set pieces pretty much. Penalties and set pieces, and the biggest creator in the team, and he takes shots from range regularly, and he's got these amazing fixtures, and he's coming off the back of some amazing form in the World Cup as well, where he just blew everyone away. Everything is kind of lining up very, very nicely for Bruno Fernandes, and I don't think he's an essential pick. But as a differential, I love him. I love him as a differential. So if you just really want to try and find that player, or find a player who is going to be a little bit different, not the kind of player that a lot of other people are picking, just try to go at it from a different angle, then I do think Bruno Fernandes is a good pick. If you just want to play it safe, then he's probably not for you. Like, if we're playing optimally, then maybe Fernandes is maybe not the best pick, but he's a decent pick, but he's not the best pick necessarily. But I do like this pick as a differential, and I think, if he goes absolutely wild over the next 3 game weeks, which is very, very possible, then I'm going to be pretty happy with that, and it's going to send me flying up the ranks, and that's all I really care about. After the Bournemouth game, I think at that point you probably think about removing Fernandes, because Man City and then Arsenal, they're not ideal fixtures for him. So I think he's a nice short-term punt. Let's see how it goes. As for Marcus Rashford, who is next, here's a player who I'd be interested in keeping a little bit longer, because Man City and Arsenal obviously do play with that high line, and Rashford could maybe get a little counter-attack there as well. Obviously, Rashford scored in the League Cup game yesterday, which is very, very good for him. Obviously, had a fantastic World Cup as well. He's a player in very good form, and he's got some good stats to back himself up. He's getting a lot of chances for Manchester United. He's like the player who gets the most chances in that team. Again, good fixtures, good price. It's all kind of, again, lining up quite nicely for Marcus Rashford. So, I think this is a good pick. And I think, most of us are probably going to agree that Marcus Rashford is a player that probably want to have in our teams, to be fair, going into this run. And the only minor concern with Rashford is that he is typically not as good against deep-lying defences. But I know that's kind of the stereotype about Rashford, but at the same time, he did it against Burnley last night. He did it against deep-lying defences in the World Cup. So at the end of the day, he's kind of proved us wrong there. He's just a player who needs to be in that vein of form and he can become a really great, a player on his day. We know he's a really good player. Just needs to be in that form, have that confidence. Listed as a midfielder as well, getting plenty of points for those goals. So yeah, I like Rashford. Next up, Almiron, who is our superstar from the first half of the season, I guess. Can he continue that form? Maybe. The thing is, I look at this Leeds at home fixture and Fulham at home fixture, and I just think I really want to have Almiron for those fixtures. He was just so good before the break. He's done well in the off-season as well, in friendly matches, still scoring goals, and I just don't see how I can go without him. I feel like there would be a big piece missing of the puzzle if I didn't go with Almiron. So yeah, I am going to go with him. Leicester, not an ideal fixture. Arsenal, I can afford to bench Almiron for that Arsenal game, so that's not going to be an issue. I could even think about benching him for the Leicester game, but I think I'd rather just go with him and see how it goes. But yeah, like Almiron, he's an absolute legend, is Miggy. Next up front, we've got Haaland. Very, very obvious. Leeds, good fixture, right? Double game week coming up, and potential for more double game weeks. It's all very good in the hood. If your name is Erling Haaland, we don't need to speak about him too much. He's just a legend. Put him in your team. Don't even try and be different. You will regret it. Trust me on that one. Darwin Nunez is the next player in, so he is a new addition to this team as well. And I'm pretty happy with this addition as well. I've been looking up his stats. Per 90 minutes, he's got the best stats of any player in the Premier League over the last, 5, 6, 7 game weeks. So that's very, very nice to see. It's always been about, can he get the game time? If he can get the game time and he can make good of his underlying numbers, then he's going to get goals. So, yeah, we saw flashes of that at the end of before the World Cup. We saw flashes of that. He gets loads of chances. This is the thing. And now he is going to be pretty much guaranteed for minutes, because we've got Jota and we've got Luis Diaz, who are going to be out for a little bit of time. We're talking months that those two guys are going to be out for, which means Darwin should, in theory, be nailed on to play every single game. If he's playing every single game and he continues to get as many goal-scoring opportunities that he has been getting, then this is going to be a very, very good thing. We've also got Aston Villa up next, and Aston Villa, they are going to be probably, almost certainly, missing Emi Martinez in net. So it's going to be Olsen who's going to be playing in goal. That's going to be a big drop-off in quality of goalkeeper, because we know Emi Martinez is a class goalkeeper. So that's going to be, again, more opportunities for Darwin to score goals in that game. Villa haven't exactly been a great defence anyway. We've got some other nice fixtures in there as well. I think Leicester at home could be okay. Brentford is a very nice fixture, and Brighton, not really sure how Liverpool are going to do there, but look, there are some fixtures here where there could be goals, and Darwin Nunez is always the guy most likely to score in that Liverpool team, better, like more so than Salah. Like, Darwin is the guy who gets the opportunities, who gets the final chances. We've seen it so many times. Salah often playing way too wide, not really getting the opportunities, becoming more of a creator than a shooter in many ways, and Darwin is kind of benefiting from that. So good pick, like him. 9 million, pretty expensive, worth it. Finally, we've got Mitrovic, who is on 4 yellow cards, but I'm not really that bothered, because I've set this team up whereby it's a team where I actually don't need to make any transfers for 4 game weeks. Obviously, I'm going to be wasting transfers if I actually don't make any transfers for 4 game weeks. So, you know, it's kind of a situation where I've tried to leave myself open to react to things such as Mitrovic getting a yellow card. Now, a lot of people have been a little bit doom and gloom about Mitrovic being on 4 yellow cards, but the worst case scenario is you have to transfer him out. That is not that bad. You know, we could say the same about injury-prone players. You know, Callum Wilson, who was hyped up before the break, wasn't he? Callum Wilson, you know, some people said, oh, I'm not going to buy Callum Wilson because what if he gets injured? You know, I'm not going to get Mitrovic because what if he gets another yellow card? It's exactly the same thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're picking players to get points. And if they get us points, who cares if we have to transfer them out in a worst case scenario? And the best case scenario is we don't have to transfer them out and they scored us a load of goals. Everyone wins. So yeah, Crystal Palace, not a terrible fixture. Southampton, that's a nice fixture. And then we've got the double game week for Mitrovic. So I like this overall. After that, we can think about removing him. But look, I think he's a good pick. And if I went for someone else, you know, I went for Martial, for example, who I think is a good alternative to Mitrovic. When it came to game week 19, when Mitrovic had a double, then I'd want to use a transfer to bring Mitrovic in for Martial. So it's kind of like you're gonna have to use a transfer either way, whether Mitrovic gets suspended or whether, you know, you start with another player and then you want to bring in Mitrovic. Then both ways you have to, you know, use a transfer. Your best bet is maybe to just grab Mitrovic now and you know, hope he doesn't get a yellow card. And even if he does, as long as he doesn't get, if he gets a yellow card against Crystal Palace, it's not going to be too much of an issue. You can just play, I don't know, Andreas the following game week or something like that, because, you know, Andreas often steps up in Mitrovic's absence, or at least he has done so far this season. So I'm not bothered. I'm genuinely not bothered about it, and I don't see why people are, you know, so, I don't know, just catastrophizing. Is that a word? It sounds like a word. Catastrophizing. I'm close. I don't know why people are so, you know, just being so negative about the idea of going for Mitrovic, because I just think he's a good pick. I don't get it. Anyway, let's go into the bench, guys. So we've got Ward, first of all. Obvious backup goalkeeper, starting goalkeeper for Leicester. Leicester in good defensive form across the you know, this season pretty much. Well, let's skip Dunk for now. Andreas, very obvious pick again, 4.5 million midfielder, or at least I bought him for 4.5 million, and he's got that nice double game week in game week 19 where I can bring him in for Almiron when Almiron plays Arsenal. Andreas has a double game week, so that's pretty nice there. We can make that switcheroo. I've got Bueno here as well, who I think is going to be a decent pick, but he's mostly going to stay on the bench. But he's kind of like a player who, if he comes good, and I think he could come very good, there's real potential here for a hidden gem. I think, well, let's just stick him in the bench. You know, he's only 3.9 million, so it's not like, you know, what the worst thing that could happen is I have a 3.9 million player on the bench. There is potential for Aït-Nouri or Johnny to come back in and replace Bueno at left back, but at the same time, Bueno has done very well whenever he's played for Wolves, scored in a friendly a couple of days ago. You know, highly rated player. He's just actually doing very, very well, and there's no real reason for him to be removed from the team. Might be a bit of rotation there. Not 100% sure, but 3.9 million, and he's my third bench option. So who cares? I'm not bench boosting anytime soon, and even if I was, I probably wouldn't be having him on my bench anyway. So yeah. He's an okay option. He's an okay option. Let's go back to Lewis Dunk. So Lewis Dunk. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be saying, where is Benjamin White? Surely Benjamin White is the player to go for. Now, here's the thing about Lewis Dunk. He is probably going to get a double game week in game week 21, I believe. And if he does get a double game week in game week 21, it's going to be a nice double game week with potential for clean sheets. And we're probably going to all want to load up on a couple of Brighton players. You know, the way things have fallen is that there is availability for Brighton to have a double there because they've been knocked out of the League Cup. So that's pretty likely to happen. I think Brighton will get a double game week there. And I'd like to be pre-prepared for that double game week. Now, the reason I'm going for Dunk over Ben White is because I don't actually know when I would play Ben White. I look at my defence, my three-man defence here of Trippier, James and Walker, and there's not really a moment in which I would prefer Ben White to any of these guys. Whereas Lewis Dunk, actually, you know, when Trippier plays Arsenal in game week 19, Lewis Dunk has a good fixture there, so I can bring in Lewis Dunk for that one. Whereas Ben White plays against Newcastle, which is a difficult fixture. So I feel like, yes, I like Ben White as a pick, but for me personally, and the way I've set up my team, I don't really think he would always be a backup brigade player, and he'd never really be a starting player for me. Whereas Lewis Dunk, there's a couple of game weeks where his fixture is actually better than some of my defenders. Like there's a fixture, when Walker has a difficult fixture, or Reece James has a difficult fixture, or Trippier has a difficult fixture, Lewis Dunk rotates with them quite well. And he has that double game week, well, very likely double game week to come up. And I'd like to try and get ahead of it, get ahead of the crowd, think, outside the box a little bit and try and, beat everyone to the punch in a way. Get that nailed on Brighton defender. Same price as Ben White anyway. And, see what we can do there. By the way, Ben White, I do think he's also got a good chance of a double game week in the same game week as Lewis Dunk would. But it would be a slightly weaker double game week because it would involve Manchester United, which is not an ideal fixture, of course. So I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. It's just something I'm trying to think of to try and do things a little bit differently, try and think outside the box, try and get ahead of the game a little bit there as well. And this is kind of where I've landed on. Finally, guys, let's put the captain's armband on Erling Haaland. Very, very obvious one there. We'll put the vice captain on De Bruyne, I guess. I don't know who else it would go on, really. And to me, that team looks pretty good. I think that team looks pretty good. I think we're almost there. The one thing you guys will probably say I'm missing is Arsenal players. I'm not really too concerned with that, to be honest. Like, as an Arsenal fan, I'm not too convinced. We've got a difficult run of fixtures where I don't think we're going to score too many goals. I think without Gabriel Jesus, that's actually going to be kind of difficult for us, and I think we are going to not score as many goals. I think that's a big loss, and I don't know who's going to step up. Martinelli and Saka, I would imagine they would step up to a degree. But in this period of the season, I'm not expecting us to do as well as we did in the previous section of the season, I guess. Maybe that's just me being pessimistic, but I'm looking at these Arsenal fixtures. I'm looking at the way we're going to set up without Jesus, and I'm not really fully confident, to be honest. So maybe I'm wrong about that one. I hope I am for the sake of Arsenal, but yeah, I don't think they're essential. Look, I feel like, you can go for Martinelli. Martinelli would be a good addition to this team. If you fancy Martinelli instead of Rashford, or Martinelli instead of Almiron, or, bring out Bruno Fernandes and bring in Martinelli instead of him and upgrade Walker to Cancelo and go slightly more template route, go something a little bit safer, then that is definitely an option as well, and an option that I have considered. But this is where I've landed. I'm going to go without Arsenal. Worst case scenario is that Arsenal do very well and my team does well, and we'll take that L all day. So yeah, there we go. That's my team right now. Probably going to be a few more changes, so stay tuned for that. But this is what I'm saying right now. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe as well if you are new around here. Don't forget to check out Surfshark and leave a comment telling me what you thought about my team. Do you reckon it's all right? Do you reckon it's, do I really desperately need some Arsenal players? Is that concerning you? Anything else concerning you? I'm sure I'm sure my team is not pleasing everyone, but I hope some of you guys like it at least. But there we go, guys. Plenty more videos to come this week, so do stay tuned for them as well. But for now, guys, I will. Oh, one more thing before I go. There'll be a stream tonight. I'll be doing a stream tonight, so stay tuned for the stream. But yeah, aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.